Hey guys, Dan's here, Sales is King tip of the day. We're going to do our Friday whiteboard session. But in short, the tip of the day is training is not something you did, it's something you do. Sales training is not something you did, it's something you do. So think about working out, working with a trainer on your physical fitness. It's not something that you do twice a year and then say, wow, I'm in great shape. So the same holds true in sales training. It's something that must be done often, frequently, followed up, worked on. So a few of you guys have written in and saying, hey, what is Sales is King? As far as how do you handle that specific training? What's involved in that? So there are a few different elements that we could take you through real quickly. First and foremost is going to be motivation. Okay, because this is something when we talk about digital sales, is the motivation, getting your head right, getting the confidence levels right, working on different people to follow, different mantras, different success stories, different books for you to read to constantly keep reiterating the importance of keeping yourself up and motivated and excited to do the job day in, day out. Because what we heard on the tip yesterday was the power of consistency. It's got to happen day in and day out for you to be successful. It can't be once in a while. That's why training's not something you did, it's something you do. Number two, the preparation is critical, right? How do you prepare properly for a sales call? What's involved in the research, in the pre-call planning? Are you out there working and following your company that you're going to be meeting with and your prospect in all of the different channels? What are they sharing? Really putting together a full dossier on the individual and the customer that you're going to be meeting with. So the importance of the pre-call planning and the research. Okay, number three is technique, right? And that's so critical too today when you're thinking about working out, right? When you're lifting weights, technique is critical. You can't just go out there and start throwing weights around. You've got to have your hands in the proper spot. You've got to use the right amount of force. You've got to be lined up a certain way. Think about a golf swing, right? Technique. So in selling today, technique is critical. How are we going to approach the prospect? How do we get more consultative? How do we get them talking about their issues? How will I have the most effective conversation? So we'll go into a whole segment on technique, which is critical. Part of the technique is going to be the next thing, which is going to be your messaging. What are you going to be saying? How are you going to approach the call? What are going to be the key elements that you want to uncover? And then how will you drive the prospect to your solution? How will you lead them? What type of things do you want to understand? And then what will be your messaging, your pitch? One of the tips we had earlier this week was tying the pitch back to the customer issues, always tying in the why versus the how it works versus the what it does, which is important, but always tying it back. So messaging is definitely critical. Number five, process is hugely critical today, right? Your process. That includes everything from the planning to the actual pitch to the follow-up. How are you adding value in each of the follow-up calls? Have you connected to all of the decision makers? Have you learned how this company makes decisions, right? Do you know what their process is? And do you know what your next steps should be and who you should be connecting with along the way and what their pain points and value drivers are? So very, very important. The next one, strategic advisor and consultative selling. how do we become a strategic advisor? We work on this quite a bit. We've heard from all of the buyers today, all of the surveys. They don't want old school sellers. They don't want hard closers. They don't want gimmicks. They want strategic advisors. They want consultants. They want subject matter experts. So we'll work with you on how to transform yourself into a subject matter expert, into a strategic advisor. And that comes down to really understanding that prospect's business very, very well, understanding your solution exceptionally well, understanding the industry. One of my friends, Chris Kingman, who is somebody you should follow from TransUnion, he made the analogy, if you're going to sell a tractor, you need to know more about farming, for example, as opposed to just how the tractor works. So understand the industry, really be a subject matter expert, and go in there and deliver value. That's what we work on. That's what's critical today. Part and parcel of that, number 7, is how do you ask the right questions? Okay, what are the key questions that you want to uncover? And this is something we can go over in the pre-call planning. But how do we effectively get the prospect to open up? What issues do we want to uncover? Again, that's going to help drive them to our solution. So that's exceptionally important. Part of being more consultative is asking the right questions and really, really understanding what they're saying. And this leads to the next part, which is number 8. And this came out in Coca Sexton's article from the last whiteboard, listening. Are we truly listening? Are we empathizing? Does the prospect think that we understand them? So again, we'll work on something called active listening, which is really engaging with your body language, following back up, reiterating, playing back what the customer said, empathizing, kind of showing them that they're not alone. So the listening component is another key technique, another key thing that we really need to work on. And then the last part, just for today, because I know we're getting a little short on time, is the why. Constantly reminding the prospect throughout the call, throughout the meeting, why this is important. Not going down a side road and getting too hung up in the weeds. We've talked about simplicity. That's another thing that I think a lot of us need to work on. How do we keep it simple? How do we keep it targeted and focused? So, tip of the day, training is not something you did, it's something you do. Here's a little bit about how we handle it for those of you who have written in. But have a great weekend and keep working on the sales game and be successful in 2018. Peace.